Free your mind. Open your heart. Tap into your power. You're listening to The Multidimensional Mother with Alex Troniak.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Alex Troniak, and you are listening to The Multidimensional Mother. Today, we have a really special guest on my podcast, and her name is Grace Crysdale. We met at a Blessing Way ceremony only a few months ago, and we've just had a really resonant connection with spirituality and energy, and I just want to learn more about her, and I think this is a really beautiful space to get to do it because I know there's going to be nuggets of wisdom shared between us that we want to share with the world. So here we are, being vulnerable and brave. I'm going to read you Grace's beautiful intro bio. Ready? Grace Crysdale is an energy weaver and content creator who loves creation. Her work revolves around soul, soma, and earth, helping spiritual women find the oracle within and fulfill the desire for an elevated embodiment. Oh, that's good. That's beautiful. Did you really just write that today? That's so good. Did you have it?
Channeled it through. I was like, this is the medicine of today.
It's beautiful. I would love for you to define some of the things in there because I have an awareness that all sorts of people are going to tune into this, and I never want to assume that people know the terms like soma and energy weaver. So I want you to elaborate a bit on these things and who you are. Mike's yours.
Thank you so much, love. I just want to say I'm so excited, honored, and just grateful to be on your podcast and to know you. And I'm so grateful because the end of 2024 was really just like so many new friendships and connections. And it was like, I just feel like it's preparing us for 2025 and like just this next level of connection and leadership and embodiment. And so thank you for being a way shower and just letting us talk today and showing this our art with the world. So energy weaver, I'm really glad you brought that up. It's a term that feels really good to my body because there's like many different terms out there, right? Like there's like oracle, priestess, energy healer, and a lot of women now we're starting to heal the witch wound and all of these like beautiful kind of archetypes, right, for the feminine. And this one just came in super strong for me, was like the weaver. And for me it feels like this archetype of um the woman who is maybe a bit more shamanic, and I always see like a spider web, and it's just like, you know, all these cords and um, energetic tethers to how this reality is formed and how creation aligns itself. And so the energy weaver, and how God has put it in my heart, is like, you know, she's just looking at the web and she's, you know, weaving with God, and she's reweaving anything that's been like maybe tangled up, or, you know, anything like that. So I'm trying, it's not a very popular word. Like,
No, it's beautiful. I love the
yeah.
uniqueness. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you. So that's what the energy weaver kind of frequency is. Soma is body. So it's the somatic system. And I think a lot of women, like I know your art, Alex, is really like the womb and the menstrual cycle. And like, I really want to talk to you about that today too.
Yes.
And soma is like soul, right? For the woman to come back into her body and to know, okay, embodiment is actually, you know, it can be like all the ethereal, celestial, and, you know, cosmic things too. But for me, it feels so much so like body is an embodiment, is body, and it's soma and it's soul. And it's like, that's my medicine for this lifetime is soma. So soma is like somatic system, nervous system, movement, just being connected to self.
Okay, how did you tell me more about how you discovered this medicine and yeah, how that experience has been for you?
Yeah, so Soma, okay, so I guess I'll go back to when I was like a teen
Do it.
because that's when all the pain accumulated. Um, as a teenager, I was super depressed, anxious. I was very overweight and I locked myself in my room. I closed the curtains. I would spend a lot of time on Twitter and Tumblr. And I remember at the worst of it, I would wake up in the morning and I would just feel this grief about waking up. And I knew like that I knew it was wrong. Like I was like, this is crazy. Like, why am I so in my low and in this kind of reversal of like life force? Um, and so that lasted from like grade 9 all the way to probably graduation.
Wow.
So yeah, I was on like medication to try and help. It never personally helped me. And I think it was just an accumulation of being a wallflower. I never really felt understood. I didn't really understand why until I had my spiritual awakening. And yeah, so then in 2019, I had my spiritual awakening,
How old
and
were you?
I was I was 20. Yeah, so I was 20 in 2019, and I should I tell my like awakening story?
Yeah, we were gonna get to it
Okay.
anyways.
Okay.
This is great.
So mine was like, so it's interesting, like the way that God like reveals, our path to us. And um my mom has always been Buddhist, and so she would, always recommend when I was in my low lows, she'd be like, why don't you meditate? Um, why don't you go for a walk in the forest, like tune inwards, try to get yourself back in this body. And I just remember she would say it to me all the time. And I remember having this thought, and I was like, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And right now I'm in my angst. And for some reason, I knew and I don't remember, I didn't really have conscious awareness of why I felt that way, but I knew I was like, no, right now I'm just in my pit. And I was like, I know I'm going to spend the rest of my life not being in this pit. And so my spiritual awakening, my dad was having some herb, and I was in my low, and he offered me some marijuana, and I smoked some, and I tripped. I literally had like 2 little puffs, and I tripped for months. For months. I literally, it was like my psyche broke down. And when it first happened, like for weeks, I thought I was going to wake up, and I was going to wake up to a Russian family. And I just like, it was like my reality was shattered. Everybody looked like Sims. It was like everything was like
What?
fake. Yeah, everything was fake. And it just like shattered my whole reality. It was like
How did it
crazy.
feel? Like, what was the emotion that you were going through?
Um, like death, crazy
So was
death.
it scary?
It was horrifying. And I'm sorry if this is triggering, but like I would have
No.
like 4 panic attacks a day. Like I was in
Yeah.
bed for a month. I couldn't look at anybody. It was kind of like,
Oh my God. And your dad was probably like, here, just relax.
I
And you're
know.
like, it didn't work that way for me.
Yeah, he was trying to help me, right? He's
Oh
like, just
boy.
relax. But that was God's plan, right? So yeah,
Wow.
slap to the face for me, but it was my awakening. And um it just didn't stop. Like everybody looked like Sims. I didn't know how to connect to people anymore. So I was
Were
like,
you like bed? Like, were you in your room the whole time?
I was in my room for probably a month, and then I would leave the house with my mom. And it was kind of like just like this. I think I was just being broken open. Like I would hear, and I think all of my past lives were also coming to me because I remember being in Best Buy with my family. And you know how they have like the TVs and the speakers, and they sometimes play movies, and they had like this one movie on and there were bombs, and I literally was like freaking out.
Triggered.
I was triggered like crazy. So it was just kind of like hypersensitivity
Wow.
for a long time. But then one day I just it's so funny how this happens. Like when I talk about it, I'm like, this is such an interesting um way of how things worked. But I had to open the spiritual book that my mom has literally been throwing in my room for the last 20 years. I was like, I have nothing left to live for. I was like, I don't know what's going on. There's nothing makes sense to me anymore. So it has to be this. So I opened it up and it was like, yeah, everything's fake. I was like,
What
oh my
book?
God. It all makes sense now. So yeah, it was I always feel like it was a bit of a slap to the face, but I know that God had
Wow.
best intentions for me.
What
Even
was the book?
it was called Western Western World meets oh no, Eastern World meets Western Science or something.
Okay.
Um, I wish I had it. And then she also gave me The Untethered Soul, which was that's a crazy book. The
Tell me about it.
Untethered
I'm writing it
Soul,
down.
yeah, it's about like it's just about our ego and how we think we're driving the car, but we're really not. You're just a passenger witnessing. And it's it's a very profound, deep book. I wouldn't say I fully agree with what it said anymore, but at the time I was like, this is this is crazy. Um,
What do you
yeah.
what was it that you don't agree with now?
I feel like so a big thing that I see in like the spiritual communities a lot, right, is like, you're not in control of anything, which I do agree with to an extent. But I also feel like taking responsibility as like a creator being is really important. So, if you're miserable in your current um, life, like whatever's happening in your life right now, obviously that was fate to have happened. But I think like sitting in it and staying there because that's your fate is like a glass ceiling and a limitation instead of being empowered to say I'm a creator, this was in my path so I can heal from it and now move on to my next chapter. Not to say that that's what the untethered soul was saying exactly, but I try to become aware of like glass ceilings where it's like break that. No, we're so much more powerful than we can even comprehend.
Wow. And how old are you now?
I'm 23.
Oh my God. Like when every time I hear that, I'm like, what? Because I was like, she's like 26 and that's still young. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have the conversation with you. I was thinking about it on my walk this morning. I had this concern about your generation. I had worry that I just saw like large levels of apathy of people being like, well, the world's fucked, so I can't do anything. Like I was
Yeah.
seeing that and I was sad for your generation.
Yeah.
And then this summer, through the Blessing Way and through Soul Church, which I want to talk about with you also, I started to meet these incredible young women, you being one of them, who blew my mind open in terms of holy shit, these women are like I want to call you a girl because you're way younger than me, but you're a woman. You're a woman. Um, and I am so blown away by your maturity and your spiritual evolution, and I'm just so curious on how you got there, what that's been like for you, and really sharing more tools on what's helped you. But first, let's go a little bit into Soul Church. So the second time I met you was at Soul Church, which I want you to describe. But it was actually in my community, which was cool. There were so many
Mm,
things that just like lined up where I think I was invited to it by two different people. So like that's a strong pull to a non-religious hangout and sit in circle, and it was both men and women, which was really cool too. Um, And that's where I saw you as a leader in that format. So I want you to describe what Soul Church is, what that's been like for you. Just go.
Hmm. Yeah, I really feel like I want to talk about Soul Church. And I also want to thank you for bringing up the apathy thing because, like, that's a really big deal too, right? Like, witnessing that. And I'm grateful you brought that up because it is a thing for, like, my generation for sure and younger.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's because of, and I'm just so grateful that, like, you're doing this work of, like, listen to your body, get back into tune with your cues, because these kids, and like all the way up into late 20s, we've been so overstimulated and pulled out of our bodies. I even remember on your Instagram a while ago, you were saying, like, um, you were kind of switching TV for more activities. And like, I love so much the stuff that you do with your kids and just seeing it on your stories. It's so, so
Thanks.
precious. Um, but yeah, huge conversation to the apathy. Like, that's massive. Soul Church is a community. So my friend Jen Morse, who lives in LA, I met her at the Joe Dispenza retreat I attended in March of last year. And she created Soul Church online. And it was like basically a way for kind of like the black sheep, the people who maybe don't really fall into any sort of religion or um, even, maybe spiritual community, but they want to be with like-minded souls. So she created it for those people. And what they would do is they would go online and they would talk about what's going on. They would set an intention and they would do these beautiful, like, heart opening meditations to, connect to one another and to, like, liberate themselves in any, darkness or density in their field. And so then she invited me to host it in Calgary because after we met, she was like, "Hey, let's push this more global." So yeah, we started doing them in Calgary. And it was beautiful. Like, the people that end up attending these spaces, when they don't know anybody from the circle, but they find it online and they just come, it blows me away, and we just get to connect with each other on a very pure level.
Mm.
And yeah, like you said, there were men there and everybody just kind of shared. So we had one, when was it? I think it was in the summer. I think our first one where I met you, I think it was in the summer. And everybody was like sharing how they heal and like what makes them feel good. And it was like, yes, we're all the teacher. Like, I really wanted it to feel like that. And that's how it felt, was everybody was guiding and
Co-creating.
co-creating,
It was
exactly. And
great.
like, yeah, and I love that you said, even before we started this talk, you're like, let's just have a conversation. Like, let's just lead each other and just let it be a beautiful, like, time to connect. And that's what Soul Church is. I don't know if we're gonna do more. I think maybe. Um, but yeah, I love Soul Church and I love community and I love the circles you're holding too. They're so
Thank you.
powerful.
Thank you.
Of
Yeah,
course.
you came to one at my home and one of the public ones I had. Always love having your energy there. You're a grounding angel.
Aw.
Let's go back to the apathy conversation
Yeah.
because you're Gen Z, right? Is that the young people?
I can't believe it, but yeah, I think I am.
You're like, I don't resonate.
Crazy. You know. Yeah. Okay, I would love to know, like, what was it that you saw that made you kind of concerned about the apathy?
Honestly, my brother, he's 26. He's since come out of a harder time and
Mm.
he's um on a great path now, and I'm so proud of him for taking that responsibility in his own hands and to take care of his health and follow his dreams. So he's done that, and so I see this, like I see the light on the other side of that initial kind of heaviness. I just thought that yeah, like the narratives in universities and schools were just talking so much about like the world ending and like how, of course, how are these kids gonna choose a path if they think it's all doom. And so, but that's, I also come back to the fact that like the sky's always been falling. Like look back every 5, 10 years, there's always something. There's always something that's causing the world to end. It's like if you just notice that that's been a pattern in the media and all sorts of external forces and just
Mhm.
observe it, not absorb it.
Yeah,
TM Jody in my last podcast. I love that
love
she
it.
said that. Like it's let it be a teacher for you and let it be an opportunity for you to not give your power and energy away. So, like you said, you're like, it's God's plan. So maybe these kids they have to have this struggle so that they can come through it stronger. I hugged a tree today and the message was each wave makes you stronger. Like when you're
Mhm.
moving through these waves, when you're moving through these seemingly hard things or heavy things, like know that each one makes you stronger and just keep on swimming. Right?
Just keep swimming. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How has it been for you? Like, do you have a lot of people in your age group? You're very mature. I'm always shocked to hear how old you are. Like, what has it been like being someone that's your age with people who are around you in your age group? What's it been like?
Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting thing for sure. Like you said, the universities and kind of like the collective consciousness for, you know, boys and girls in their 20s. It's it's a funny thing. I find that I don't really connect. I don't honestly have any friends my own age. Um, which has definitely been kind of weird because, part of me sees girls like I follow my friends from high school, but we don't meet in person. We're not really like close. And sometimes I see like, them hanging out and connecting, and I wonder, oh, like what would it take for me to be able to connect with them and to go hang out with them? And I don't judge them for it, but I realize it is like, going out and drinking, going to, putting on the full face of makeup. There's a lot at this age, there's a lot of gossip around boys, and they don't want to be in stable relationships. They want to play around with what could happen. And I'm a grandma in a 23-year-old's body, and I'm ready to, um, I just really want to be, I guess, who I am. I just can't relate with them fully, which is totally good. It's totally fine. Um, but yeah, like within, and I see it in women and men, and I have a brother who I assume is not going to listen to this, so I'm going to call him out a little bit. But they play video games where they're literally shooting people for hours, and then they go and watch movies, horror movies, where somebody's being tortured,
Murder. Yep.
murdered, tortured, like and then we like think to wonder like, well, like why don't you connect with me on a really deep, sensitive, empathetic level? And I think that this is just my guess, that they have to put a wall, like there's some sort of like masking that must be put up, or some kind of desensitization where
Mm.
they don't feel the way that maybe other people do. And I don't know about you, Alex, but like I'm so sensitive. Like um, if I
Ever
want
increasingly.
exactly, exactly.
This is the thing. Like
Like
when you're
I'll like
raising your vibration.
like, yes. Nobody talks about it. You do become not isolated, but your circle gets a bit smaller because it's like, um, you can I can't relate to majority of my age group anymore, and I can't relate to my family members, and I want to bond with them, but if bonding with them is watching a murder mystery action war movie, then it take me 2 days to recover. So
You clicked
yeah.
out a bit, but I hear you what you're saying. You're saying like you've become so energetically sensitive that it's like you can't choose that. I can't choose it more anymore either. Like I
Mhm.
literally don't even watch TV anymore. I'm so sensitive.
Mhm.
to the content. And that is what comes with raising your vibration. As you raise your vibration, you get more of these gifts that allow you to pick up on more things, more of the unseen things, more of the energy. And that's like, I love what you were saying about being an energy weaver and being able to see that unseen realm. And I want to talk more about that too. But I have totally found that as that's happening, and that's beautiful, there's gifts with that, I'm more overwhelmed by other things that I wasn't before.
Yeah.
And I have to be more mindful about energy protection when I go into like I shared that meme of like going into the lower third dimension to get underwear at like Walmart and putting a
Yeah.
bubble around yourself. But I'm like, we're doing that. Like I have to do that too.
100%.
And I've also found, I don't know about you, but lately I've really found how much I need a shower after being around lots of people. And it's super, like it's cleansing. And I'm able, if I don't shower and I've like had an event or gone out, even if it's like with great people, I still need to cleanse the energy off me. And my shower has been healing. So have my baths, obviously. But I need that if I've been with other people.
Yeah. And like when we think about it, it's like in such an ancient, like organic thing for us to do, right? Like the water is so cleansing. I do the same thing, like baths with a baking soda, like bath bomb
Mm.
and some salt. It's like I literally need it. Like I'm sure you feel the same. Like I
Literally
literally,
every second day at least.
yeah, I can't like do anything until it happens. Like, it's like my body. And I'm curious about this too, because this is fun. Um, do you find like the more sensitive you get that when God or your body and like your soul are kind of asking you to do something, that it's kind of like it's very needs to happen versus like, oh, you could if you want to, or maybe you don't have to. Do you find that where it's like, okay, I need to do this. I need this to happen. Otherwise, you feel like kind of jumbled or out of sorts or
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yes, and I want to hear your experience with that. Like, what's your latest one where it's been this clear kind of pushing or guiding you? Like, what's been guiding you right now into something that is unignorable?
Mhm. My most recent one was with my partner, and it's so funny. Like, this is just like, I love talking about this because it's like the daily, but it's also like, it is magical and mystical. Um, so I had to tell my boyfriend something, and I was kind of not telling him, I was putting it off. And then we were hanging out, and I could feel like this anger pooling between us because there was this rift in the field where I wasn't communicating with him, and then he was reflecting back to me. And as the day went on, I started dropping things, like things were dropping everywhere, and I felt so out of sorts. And then I was literally in my bathroom, like near the end of the night, putting on deodorant, and I have like the little routine deodorant that you can buy at like the health food store. And for some reason, it's made out of like crystal, and I had it over my head so I could put my deodorant on. And for some reason, like my arm threw it to the ground, and it broke into a million pieces. And I was like, holy shit, like, is it okay? Sorry, I swear. I was
Yeah.
like, holy moly, that is a power. Like, it was a force. Like, it was like pissed. And it wasn't even me, it was just the energy was like, so we talked, we had to talk. And then everything's been fine. But it was like, I was like, okay, God, I hear you. Okay, body, I hear you. Um, yeah, like it was over literally like the course of a day. Like it would not let me have a moment. It was like now,
Right.
yeah.
I totally hear you. And I'm like, I'm a naturally clumsy person, but I have gotten to a point of like, I'll get that little ping of like, better move that cup.
Yeah, right.
And if I don't, it'll break. It will
Yeah,
break. If I don't listen to that little whisper that said like, it'll like sometimes just be that little thing. And it'll often be, yeah, when you've been feeling that intuitive, like, this has to be done. Are you paying attention to this? Are you paying attention to this? Boom, there goes the glass.
yeah. And that's like such a fun thing because it's like developing, right, your intuition and like your gnosis, because it happens, I'm sure it's the same for you, like I'm getting groceries and I'm like, I think I need this, and I'm like, no, you have it at home. My brain, like, you kind of get that hunch of
Yep.
like, I should pick that up, and then, or it does, and then you go home and you're like, I knew I needed this, but I didn't trust
Yes.
myself, and now I'm like,
And don't you just feel like the feeling afterwards of being like, I should have listened. I don't want to should have myself, but like, you should have. But I think every time you get experience that, it's meant to be like that's a lesson. That annoyance or pain that you feel is meant to say, pay attention the first time. The next time you hear that little ping, like that's how intuition develops. So I want to hear your story on intuition. Like, what's it been like for you? Have you actively developed it? Like, what's been your resources? Share.
hmm. Um, I feel like for the most part, it's just been self-trust. Um, like we just talked about, you have that ping, you should do this. When you do listen, it's like the best feeling ever. Like you feel like a superhero, like, and then you go home and you're like, oh, I knew it. Like I find that it's a very rewarding feeling. Um, but yeah, like big ways, reaching out to somebody that maybe is somebody you look up to, and having them 100% be all in, like, yes, let's do this project, or yes, let's do this thing. Um, and then that's rewarding. And just learning to take chances, I think, and trusting the body, more so than anything. Lately, it's been like intuition is similar to discernment, right? So it's like, um, also not doing something if the body's like, don't,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good example for this. Don't partake in blank, or don't, connect maybe with blank.
Yeah.
And for me, at first I always feel like, oh, it's not fair. Like, I want to do what other people are doing, and why can't I? And then after a few weeks, like, God reveals to me this is why. And trusting that more than anything is really important. So this comes up a lot for me, like in the spiritual community. I I don't want to beat down on this one that I keep talking about, but the Joe Dispenza retreat I attended was a big one for me, huge one for me, initiation, um, where I've
Tell
had,
us about that experience. Like, how did you end up there? Tell us about that. What
yeah,
was your takeaway?
yeah. So I attended a Joe Dispenza retreat in March of 2024, and I was really excited to go because, he's well known, and I've done some of his meditations, and they definitely have been nice and supportive. And then when I went, there were a lot of things that were red flags that I didn't listen to them, and I didn't obey my body per se. Things like, for example, in the meditation, there were like 2,000 of us in this like
Wow.
theater, and we're all sitting literally shoulder to shoulder, like very close. And we do meditation, we learn how to overcome the mind, and then the majority of the retreat, which I didn't realize, was actually about raising your kundalini and having a kundalini activation. And which is fine. I love, elevating the consciousness, but it was very much so a pressured thing, because
Mm.
he taught us how to do it, and then he wanted us to pop. He called it like, you need to pop, you need to have this experience, like, and when it wouldn't happen, he would say things kind of like, your neighbor's doing it, you're holding yourself back, why aren't you letting it happen? um at the time I
Mm.
was like, this guy's so supportive, he really wants me to have this beautiful experience, that's wonderful. And when women and men would have this kundalini arising, they would start screaming, and they would like kind of black out. And so it was a very intense thing. And my nervous system, thank God at the time, was like, nah, I'm not having this experience shoulder to shoulder with Joe Schmo. I don't know who they are. I don't know who any of these people are.
Fair.
Um, and Yeah, there was one moment at the retreat when the lights were red and his big booming voice, male, was over the speaker and women were screaming. There was red light, and then Joe Dispenza was speaking into the mic, like big booming male voice. Um, Music playing. They played kind of intense. Let me know if I cut out again.
Yeah.
Um, they play kind of intense tribal music to like really get you amped up. And women were screaming because they were having the Kundalini awakening. And I had to rip my eyes open because I felt panic like I'd never felt besides probably my awakening before. Because, I've had to hold myself in this. Like, I've had past life memories as an oracle where, like, I've been tortured or I've been in, these dungeons with people who are not caring and they just want your energy and they just want you to give them what they want. And it felt very unloving. And so I had to leave the room. And, I gave it my all at the retreat, but coming back, I realized that a lot of the things, and also talking to Sonia, our friend, who's a Kundalini teacher, I was telling her about these Kundalini activations, and she was like, "That is not a Kundalini activation." Like she was like, "That was screaming uncontrollably and blacking out. That's not an organic ascension or Kundalini awakening." And
Wow.
so I posted about it online, and people got really upset about it. But I'm just learning more and more, like, it doesn't matter what other people think. It's about what God puts in your heart, and trusting your body and your soul first and foremost, especially in your spiritual evolution, is just paramount. Um,
I
and
saw you. Yeah, you, sorry, keep going.
no, I was just gonna say, like, we give our power away, but the power is within.
You, I saw what you said on your Instagram about that, and like at the core of it being like, you can't force someone to have a spiritual awakening. You can't rush someone to have a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own journey. And it's also a good reminder to not compare yourself to anyone else. And it's funny because it's like, I'm laughing because I think part of the spiritual awakening, one chapter of it is realizing that you can't awaken other people and
Yeah.
that you can't, that your awakening isn't necessarily going to awaken them. And you have to be okay with that and trust them in their journey
Mhm.
and be kind and supportive anyways, but and just yeah, share from the heart. I'm like, I love that we can talk about what served us, what's been good, because if someone hears something, they're like, "Ooh, that resonates. I'm gonna explore that a bit." Then they'll
Mhm.
do that. But if we don't have these conversations and share the things that help, they might never hear about that tool. Do you know what I mean? But I also don't expect my list of things that I've done to be the key to you or anyone else. So it's good to
Right.
really, and like you said, with discernment and intuition, that's the main thing. I hope that people invest time and energy in their own intuition so that they know what are my keys, what are my codes, what feels right to me, what feels resonant. And I want to even define that. I was just thinking about my aunt-in-law. She messaged me yesterday and she's like, I signed up for Spotify and I listened to your podcast. So I
Oh.
want to think about people like her where it's like, well, maybe she doesn't have people talking about resonance and maybe she totally knows and she's like, don't talk down to me. But resonance for me is like, it's, I think of, when you hit like a tuning fork and there's that
Mm.
sound and when two things are vibrating at like a similar frequency and you feel it. So there's resonance. It's like that similar vibration. There's this likeness, there's this magnetic pull. So when something resonates to you, when it gives you that, ooh, I should pay attention to that, or I'm curious about that, and you don't even have to know why, and it can be something unrelated to anything else you've ever been into, but
Mhm.
those are really important things to pay attention to. This is a good segue into past lives
Yeah.
because I think a big part of resonance goes deeper than our current incarnation and our current lifetime. And my sister does astrocartography. So
Oh,
she's
that's cool.
like, you can give her your birth chart information and she can list off like 20 places that would be resonant for different reasons and maybe places that are like not good, wouldn't be as conducive for fun, growth, energy, whatever, because each one will have a different pull. and I've said this in another episode, but the ones that came up for me, I'm like, interesting. I have very strong resonance to quite a few of them, and resonance that feels like a past life as well, slash parallel lives, because time's not linear.
Well,
So tell me a bit more about your experience of discovering things that have been like past life experiences. Like, go a bit into that. What's that experience been like for you? Go off.
I love that you brought up astrocartography. I think it's so cool, and I would love to know like what your locations were, because I think it's so interesting. Like mine always go through Russia. Do they all go through
You have such Russian vibes, so this doesn't
Russia?
surprise me.
Oh, okay.
Like, I see
Like
it.
all of mine, and I'm always like, I guess I'm
I
moving
have
to
none in
rural.
Russia.
You have none in Russia?
None.
What? No way. I was
Yeah.
like, much. I thought they all just went through Russia. Um, yeah. Afterwards, please tell me.
Yeah,
Or
I will.
yeah. Okay. Um, past lives is such a beautiful. It's like when you get deja vu, or when you
Mm-hmm.
kind of like you said resonance. It's like I've done this before, and I don't know when or how or
No
with who.
explanation.
No explanation exactly. Um, so I was very blessed that I found very early on in my journey two beautiful teachers who were like, I guess guides that helped me learn how to weave into my own like consciousness to learn about past lives and how to hold space for that to come up as well. So when I say that, I mean like in meditation, just sitting with yourself. And I'm a very visual person. So when I meditate and when I do energy work on myself or others, I don't get it's not like crystal clear images, but it's kind of like a montage, mirage of um, situations, scenarios. And so I'll share one of my favorites. It's like my favorite past life that actually one of my teachers provided for me. Um, in
Like,
one of
she guided you in meditation?
Yeah, so she kind of like the way that she does her meditations or energy healing sessions is she like goes into the field with you and then describes what she sees and then also asks you to like hold space for openings or clearings or to move energy with her, but she's kind of like seeing um what's going on. And she saw that in one of my past lives I was a medicine woman for Vikings. And I've just been obsessed with that memory
I
since
see
then.
it.
Yeah, it's and I have this affinity for men. Like for some reason, I I feel I just love men. Like I just really do. Like you know, healed men, not men that are like. There's a lot of pain for women around men, myself included. But when a really like integral, loving man like appears around me, I just want to like see them, just witness them. Um, I've also done a past life meditation for myself. So this one's a bit more intense. Um, and I'll share a bit of my process in case I know that probably some people are interested in learning how to do this for themselves. So what I do is that when I go into meditation, I communicate with my body, where in which I will, do investigative, subtle energy work. So I look at what's going on in my body. So sometimes I can feel tension in my shoulder, per se. And then when I look there with my inner eye, I can see things there. Like maybe it looks like a fluff ball or a squid or like black ink, and I'll just actively intentionally seek to clear it with my intention, my attention, and maybe golden light. um, and then as I dive deeper into my body will bring up memories that I don't remember from my current life. One of those memories that was really intense was, like I mentioned with you, when we hold space for the body to bring up memories while not judging, denying, or shaming ourselves for those memories coming up. I've one of my clients, she said to me, when something comes up in my field, I have a hard time trusting it because I think I just made it up, which is, of course, a valid thing to think. But my gnosis, and one of the things that my teachers told me, is that if it's in your field, maybe it doesn't belong to you, but it's there, it's present. So there's no reason to invalidate it. If you don't want it to be in your space, you can ask it to leave. But when it comes to the body, panic coming up, fear around a person that maybe we just don't understand or we want to deny it, fear around anything like that, like holding space for it to communicate to us opens up doorways for our body and our mind to like show us images from things that we can't recall. So yeah, I've held a lot of space for past lives where I was a maiden, not being loved properly or not being cared for or being hurt. And we also have to understand too, like, and I know you know this, Alex, like when we go into meditation, we're holding space for not just ourselves, but the collective. So it's like, okay, maybe this actually isn't yours, but it's coming up in your field because you have the capacity to heal it and to hold it and to witness it. So yeah, past lives is like, it's very magical and eye-opening. And like you said as well, we're just this beautiful being with key codes and passages, and like there's so much information in this body and in this being that we can look at, weave into, and learn from.
Wow, you
I feel like
articulated that really well.
oh, thanks.
What an invitation for people to explore in meditation further as well, especially with the with I like what you said, intention and attention. I wrote it down. I want to hear more about your meditation practice. I want to talk lots about meditation, and I just think it's something that is overlooked by so many people, and they think that if they do yoga, then they meditate, or if they sit and read, then they're meditating. But I think that there are many ways of doing it, but I want to just open the conversation and hear what's worked for you, what's good.
Yeah, beautiful. I totally agree. I think being really like, if you read books about like the life of a yogi, Yogananda Paramahansa, sorry if I butchered that, like reading these books about these gurus who dedicated their lives to this work, they weren't reading and meditating at the same time. They weren't like you know taking it lightly. Obviously, I find that I can be a very serious person, so I do want to be light about this because it's a beautiful journey, right? We're all here to do things that resonate for us and do them in ways that resonate with us as individuals. But when I had my awakening, I found two teachers. One of them was very intense and intentional about the prioritization of energy healing on yourself for more than 2 hours a day. So that was really where I kind of was able to activate a lot of my gifts. And I've been so blessed that I literally had my awakening. And then one of my friend's older sisters was having her awakening at the same time. And she introduced me to this teacher, and we would meditate together. There were like 4 of us at one point, 5 of us who would meditate all together. And we would do like 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Energy healing work. Yeah. And it was like, it actually cured my anxiety and my depression. That was what it took for me at that point, because I had been at such a low. And I literally felt shattered inside. It took for me to be in my body and to be communicating with my body and to be, actively, intentionally clearing my field and my body for at least 2 to 3 hours a day, literally restored my life force. And I only did that I did it for probably like 8 months.
It's a
Very,
long time.
Yeah, we were like, my friends were like diehards, like they were like so invested. And at the time too, I was doing other kind of really intense regimes that I would not recommend anymore, but I would do mono fasts. So I would do like only eating bananas for 3 days. Like it was kind of, really, um, I would say now,
Would
not,
you poop?
I did poop. I actually pooped more than I did before. It was just like pure fiber.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to like cleanse your body, and like obviously fasting and stuff, they say cleanses your body or makes it easier to meditate. Um, I think people have to figure out for themselves what works for them. That personally was pretty detrimental for me. But the 3 hours a day of meditation, that was like my initiation. I don't do that anymore. Um, Now I meditate for like 1 hour a day, and I do energy healing. So for the energy healing that I've learned and that I'm going to be teaching soon as well is essentially you sit in meditation, but you are like investigating, like you're like really diving into your body and your being. So you'll sit with self, and if you feel a sensation in your body, you'll go there and you'll talk to your body. Hey body, where did this come from? Noticing what you see. If you see something, asking where that came from. And the body and the mind will communicate with you. Whereas um, this is where we can get a little tripped up. Like, if you ask your shoulder, okay, where did this pain come from? And it gives you a date, and you're like, don't believe you. Probably not true. Your body's then going to be like, oh, I can't, I'm not, I can't trust myself. So kind of following the ways in which your body communicates and also your guides communicate to you and your soul communicates to you, is how I would do that meditation. So it wasn't per se like boring. It was actually very exciting. I would go into
Totally.
past lives. I would hear things about my history, about.
We want to hear more about your meditative experience because it's beautiful and unique to you. But I love what you're saying and how you're utilizing your guides, your ancestors, having these conversations with your body and all these things. So keep going.
Mhm. I really just want to empower people to have these conversations with themselves. Like, don't think it's weird. Just, it's um normalizing the strange and the weird makes your life very magical and mm,
Heal, yeah.
yeah, profound. Like, talk to the trees, talk to your body, talk to the wind. Like, we see these characters maybe in our books and in our these movies that we watch, and they're mystical, they're magical. You can have a very magical life too when you treat everything as if it's alive, because it is. So my meditations practices are really like that. It's very much so conducting a conversation with this aliveness and this energy within me, and weaving with that energy and that creationality.
And did that kind of belief system on everything being alive and your ability to tap into it, was that found via your intuition?
I would say partially. I had teachers well, one teacher in particular, her name's Z Earth Star Healer. She's a very beautiful woman.
XIE?
XI Earth Star Healer.
Okay.
And she's very shamanic. So she, you know, talks about how everything is alive, how everything has a consciousness. And so I did have that remembrance through her teachings that, it's easy for us to converse with life when we let it be, when we kind of open that gateway in our consciousness, right? In our psyche, like it's just easeful. So she introduced it to me. And then I loved it so much. Like the shamanism feels very closely to what is most organic to my expression of healing.
Elaborate on shamanism for people who don't have a clear definition on that.
So this is probably not like what Google would say, but um,
Good.
my perspective of a shaman is essentially somebody who believes in that everything has life force, that everything is alive, and that you can commune, converse, and um, like just be as one with everything around you. They really treasure Earth as like this wise teacher. And shamans, they're very ancient, so they would use, herbs, and they would kind of go through initiations in order to strengthen their spirit and their bond to the earth and to God's source. Um, and they also, they're pretty popular for like journeys, is kind of the medicine that they offer, the drum, and then you go into trance state and you journey to the lower, middle, or upper realms where you converse with trees. And this is kind of where I became comfortable with communicating with my guides in the spirit realm, was through learning about journeys, because shamans teach that you go into trance state through the drum, and then they walk you into, through visualization, go into the under realm, which is dirts and rocks and caves, and maybe they'll guide you to a teacher or to a body of water, and then you just receive the messages that you need from that journey, from that experience, and then they walk you out of the journey. So I really love shamanism. It taught me how to converse with spirits and nature and life in a very beautiful way. That's how I would describe it, just from my experiences.
That was thorough and beautiful still.
Thank you.
And you resonate with that.
I do. I really I love the shaman because they're like they're very earthly. They're very like, tangible, and they feel like just the frequency is more grounded. And it just supports me because my moon is in Taurus, and I have a lot of my chart is in Taurus, so I just naturally like love the stability and the rock and the dirt. Like it just feels so nourishing. As
Right on.
much as, do you have any like what's your chart mostly?
Gemini sun,
Yeah.
Scorpio moon, Sag rise.
Oh damn.
So I don't have the earth ones. I don't think there's much. And so let's segue into, what are your offerings? What are you doing with energy work and your purpose? Why are you here? What are you doing right now? Share.
Yeah, so I am currently in the process of creating a course that will help women learn about their inner codex and learn how to reconnect and commune with their inner knowledge. I feel like it is just our birthright to be able to, obviously, we learn from one another, we learn from teachers, we learn from the external world, but the mystery school lives within. And so I am creating a course that includes somatic facilitation. We're going to learn how to do energy healing. We're going to learn how to do high level healing on other people, and how to really take this to a level of embodiment that allows us to live a mystical, magical life. It's going to be 13 weeks. That's my current offering. I
Wow.
don't have one-on-ones right now. That's going to be my baby, and I'm going to deliver it probably in late spring.
Wow, exciting. That's an amazing offering. It sounds so intriguing to me.
Yes. Yeah.
Congratulations. What a beautiful, energetic birth child that you're gonna have.
Thank you.
And a
Yeah.
good timeline. And where can people find you?
So I post a lot of content on my YouTube page, which is where you can find more long form insights and sharings and conversations about energy healing and spirituality. And I also want to say, like, within this course and within all of my offerings, I always try to speak that, like, I don't see myself as a guru. I don't see myself as, you know, advanced or highly knowledgeable. And I really just want to open up conversations and open up people's capacity to, see themselves as more and to feel more aligned with God, however that looks. It's a very unique journey, like we've been talking about together. Like, whatever key codes belong to you, they're sacred to you. And all of that you can find on my YouTube channel and then Instagram
What's
as
the
well.
YouTube? Hey, you gotta say the name.
Grace Crysdale,
Spell it.
Grace, Crysdale, Crysdale, for YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. I don't post on Facebook though. That's not really my space.
Honest.
I'm honest. YouTube and Instagram mostly. It's funny, like, and I know, well, oh, we didn't even talk about the menstrual cycle, but my Wi-Fi is just so bad. But you know how we always try to like do more, do more? Like, I've tried to post on TikTok and Facebook, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. You gotta find me where I'm at, I guess. Like, I can
Yeah.
only do those two. Yeah.
Just do it. Do your things and do them well. I think that's the main thing, right? And usually if someone's like really great on TikTok, they're not necessarily translating the same. I find the spaces to be quite different. And I like that. I'm
Mhm.
very much an observer on TikTok and much more of a creator on Instagram.
Yeah.
And when I do put anything on TikTok, it's so like unfiltered and like in my
Yeah.
sweats more so. And it's not like I'm not doing that on Instagram, but Instagram has so much more of an aesthetic algorithm. We know this.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's okay. Because I actually do think it's important to be aware of your appearance and take care of yourself. I've gone through a big like shift on I think I used to feel bad if like I would make myself feel bad about wanting to look good, thinking it was like out of vanity only or out of maybe like I don't know. It didn't feel good to me, but I've shifted into knowing that like look the part, look how you want to look, take care of yourself, and how you show up is important, how you express yourself is important, and you do raise your vibration when you take care about your body and your appearance. And I think it's important to put your best foot forward. And I know for me, like I work at home, I'm here at home. I could easily wear pajamas all day, but it really brings me into slum mode, kind of, right? And it's okay to get that, especially when your period is on and you need to max rest. That's the vibration there, and that's fine. But yeah, how are you finding navigating your cycle? Let's kind of end on that because I usually ask where you're at in your cycle in the beginning, but I think we had that pre-chat.
Yes. Also, I literally had the same activation like a month ago where I was like, same as you, like I was feeling kind of guilty for putting on a little bit of makeup and I think it's because like I don't know, like there's different like realms online. Like there's kind of like the granola, like very healthy, like don't put anything on your face. And then there's
Yes.
like the opposite, like full face, and it's like, oh, where do I fit in?
Yeah.
Awakening the last month where I'm like, exactly like you said, if I'm seeking embodiment, I want to look the part. It makes me feel good. That's what matters most, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna pull up my Stardust app because I use that too.
Yay, get Stardust girlies. It's the
Yeah.
best period app. It's encrypted. It tells you what witch you are, it tells you where the moon's at, where you're in relation to the moon. I gave them feedback and they took it, which I really appreciate. They're made by women. Yeah, like they had a design where when you open the page on like what you could add for symptoms or anything, and the top things were birth control. And I was like, bro, if you are a period app where you're trying to get people to be in awareness with their body, like why would you put birth control first? And they took that advice, and people can still be on birth controls, I guess, and be on that app, but it didn't make sense to me. It just was like,
Good for you. Heck yeah. Like,
yeah, and that they took it. I was like, cool. And they keep iterating. They have a good app, and it's, yeah, nice design, nice interface.
they should sponsor you because you talk about it all the time. And
Right. I know.
literally,
They like the post. That's about it.
do
Mhm.
you pay for it or do you not?
I did, and then once I kind of like I took the time to learn seed cycling and stuff like that. But I am back on normal.
Nice. I ponder whether I should like pay for it,
Do it for like a month and like explore it, and then if you like it, keep it. If you don't, get rid of it.
right? I'm on
And
day.
also on that note of um, my brand is multidimensional mother, and it's all about being multiple versions. Like, yeah, I'm a Gemini, but I'm a mom, and I'm also this I feel like I'm 16 sometimes, and yeah, sometimes I'm gonna wear makeup and I'm not. And once you embrace your cycle, embrace that you're a cyclical woman who changes every day with different energy levels, different hormones every day. Like, men go through the same hormone experience every 24 hours. They are
Mm,
the sun, we are the moon.
yeah.
And the patriarchy is based on let's perform the same every day, which
Mhm.
that's like, it makes sense, right? It's in that masculine. And then when it demands women to always be in that masculine, we start to be unwell. So I think we're in the process of navigating new ways of living, being, working, creating, making money, especially as women, in ways
Mhm.
that actually support our cycle so
Yeah.
that we do better all the time. Like, if you actually rest on your period, you're going to have a better time throughout the rest of your days in your cycle. And this is ancient, but new information.
Yeah. I'm so grateful you're saying all that, like truly, because it's so important. And like even just validating the woman who bleeds and 100% like you say, we are so different throughout our whole cycle. Like I was writing up some Instagram posts that I want to do later this week and month, and literally one of them was like we need to start validating women in the fact that literally day to day I feel like a different person, and that doesn't make me crazy. Like I think in the olden days if a woman said that, I feel like, a different
They
person.
lobotomized her. It was scary.
Yeah, they would put her in like a insane asylum, like on her period before whenever she would act out of normalcy for what a man would call normal. So thank you for saying that. Because it's so important. Like my shamanic teacher said that to me because I was feeling uncertain about my identity as a 23-year-old girl, finding myself and trying to connect to God. She was like, Grace, be your age and also know that you're ancient.
Hmm.
Liberate yourself, be creative and also know that maybe your mind is sometimes more logical than
Yes.
fancy free. We
This
can.
is the both and. Do you know about like the both and?
No.
So when I say like both and, it's like both slash and. So I feel like we're moving out of a way of thinking where it's like you are either this or you're that, and you can't have this shared, or you can't have contradicting things, and that is so limiting, and it
Mhm.
it creates shame and guilt because maybe you are like, there's part of me that is the pious mother, but then there's also the sacred slut.
Yeah.
And if I have to choose one or the other, well, if I pick one and then I'll be sad and felt unfulfilled by the other, like, you don't have to choose one or the other. The reality is it's both and. Multiple truths exist at the same time. And this is important to acknowledge in everyone's experience because it's like everyone's out there in their own universe. Everyone is experiencing their own universe and specific truths to that universe. And so, like, they try to highlight the difference in the divisiveness between people, but it's like it's everything. It's both and. It's not one or the other. It's all of it. And if we can embrace our wholeness and the world's wholeness, the woman's cycle wholeness, the men's cycle wholeness, and allow it all to exist without shame and hatred, then the harmony will be what is left, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can be a pious mother and a sacred slut. You can be an intellectual person one day and then whatever, yeah, like the intuitive hippie the other day, like it's, or in the same day, 5 minutes, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't limit yourself.
I genuinely think a lot of women who are spiritual are. I had a friend, I'm not going to say who it is. Her therapist diagnosed her as bipolar. And I was like, girl, you are a sensitive, empathic, spiritual woman, a spiritual woman who feels so deeply. You're going to change every feel like, like we do. I go through ups and downs like crazy. I feel different in a few hours. And I
Well,
think,
physiologically, we are.
yeah,
Our hormones are changing
yeah.
from
And
one day to the next.
we're just learning about the body, like the female body too.
The other thing I've been thinking about too is so when you have your period, you actually are shedding. You're shedding a cell that was in you when you were in your mom.
Wow.
Actually, even possibly because so when you're pregnant, you really get into like where your baby's at and whatever. So if you have a girl in you, her ovaries develop while she's in you. So, and I actually believe everything is a fractal in this universe. So I'm like, yeah, that's what they can see, but how do they know that it doesn't go even beyond that?
Hmm.
So when my daughter, I had my granddaughter's cell in me when my daughters were in me. And so let's get back to when we shed, like every period, you are, think of it as this alchemical, beautiful transformation that you are gifted to embark on every month. Your period is a gift, and you get to shed an aspect of you that no longer serves you, but you get to shed and you are changing. Your cells are changing. It's
Hmm.
undeniable. Everyone's cells change, but I really like that, just acknowledging that you get to change. You come outside of your period and you're just like, I'm a new woman. I'm in my spring. And like, you really are different. Like, allow yourself to keep evolving and feel the renewal and feel the release of letting go of something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. That is profound. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like portal ways. We're always in the portal way. We're always like, yeah, being reborn. It's such a gift. It's such a gift to be a woman and to bleed. And I remember at your circle, you were talking about that, reclaiming the love for having a period. And I lost my period I literally lost it for like more than a year when I was fruitarian. And it was when I got it back, I literally felt so excited and giddy and just in such deep pleasure and gratitude when I got it again that ever since then I look forward to it.
Bless.
Yeah,
That's the world I'm walking into.
yeah,
I want women to be like, yes, I love my period. I want our daughters to have those stories. I want our sisters to have those stories because it's such a big part of how we feel as women.
yeah.
And because we were taught to feel shame about having our period.
Hmm.
It still says discreet on the box. Like the brand name, if you go to the store and look at tampons, it'll say discreet or quietest wrapper. Like you're meant to feel like you need to hide this dirty thing.
Hmm.
Fuck that. Burn
Yeah.
it. Burn it to the ground.
We're all gonna free bleed and
Yeah.
we're gonna be like, whoa,
Ladies, free bleed. You will bleed less. You'll have less pain. You'll have a better time.
yeah.
Rest. Read The Red Tent. Change your life.
I
Come to
haven't
my
read that
period
yet.
workshops.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We're in a new age now. God bless.
Yeah. Creating a new earth with every day, with every choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grace, I have loved this conversation with you. Despite computer glitches, it's been a strong connection in our
Yeah.
hearts. I love this conversation. We could clearly talk for hours.
Oh no.
Um, But let's seal the space and this time. And I thank you, all the listeners who spent time to be curious and kind and take in this information. And I hope it serves you and plants seeds that you can follow with your intuition and discernment.
Yes, amen. Thank you so much, Alex. Truly, truly such a gift to know you and to be on your podcast. And yeah, thank you, anybody who tunes in. I'm just so honored to tune in with you and to be alive.
Yeah. Blessings to you all. You can find us on Grace Crysdale on Instagram or YouTube. And I'm on Instagram at Alex Troniak and on YouTube at The Multidimensional Mother. Sending you love and blessings. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.